I hired an actor to break her game, and when he whispered, "This is our little secret," she started saying things she'd never dare tell me to my face. For months, I'd felt something was wrong. The late replies, the new perfume, the secretive smile whenever her phone buzzed. She used to hug me like she meant it. Lately, her hugs felt like handshakes. I wasn't going crazy. I was being replaced. I just didn't know by who. If you like stories where betrayal meets revenge, hit subscribe so you don't miss how this one ends. I didn't want to fight. I wanted truth. But my wife was the kind of woman who could twist any argument until you ended up apologizing to her. So instead of confronting her, I built a plan. Not to catch her, to make her confess. Voluntarily. I called an old friend from film school, a part-time actor. I told him I needed someone to play a very specific role, the boyfriend of my wife's best friend. He laughed, thought it was a joke. Then I showed him the texts, the screenshots, the way she suddenly started deleting chats. He stopped laughing. His name was Ryan. Smooth talker, sharp smile. Perfect for what I needed. Our plan was simple. He'd date Lisa, my wife's best friend, and naturally start showing up around her. Group dinners, birthday parties, brunches. He'd flirt a little, not with her, but near her. Just enough to spark curiosity. My wife always loved attention. Ryan was designed to be temptation in a friendly package. The first time they met, I watched from across the table. She couldn't take her eyes off him. She laughed too much, played with her hair, tried too hard to seem casual. I didn't need proof anymore. I just needed time. Over the next few weeks, coincidences started stacking up. Ryan bumped into her at the gym, at the grocery store, even at the cafe where she worked on her laptop. Every moment planned, every move calculated. She for a movie night. I pretended to be too tired to come, but I knew what I was doing. Ryan went without me. My wife texted me halfway through the evening. "You sure you don't want to join? It's fun here." That single message told me everything. She wanted me to feel left out. That's how guilt hides, under playfulness. When she got home later, I could still smell his cologne in her hair. I didn't ask a thing. She was testing boundaries, and I let her. The tighter you grip, the faster a liar slips away. The next phase was more subtle. Ryan started sharing personal stories. Little confessions that sounded real enough to trigger her trust. He told her how he'd once been in a complicated situation, being close to someone he shouldn't have. She bit. I saw it in the way she began asking about him more often, pretending it was for Lisa. Soon they had inside jokes, the kind that outsiders aren't supposed to understand. She'd mention his name casually, like it was nothing. "Ryan said this," or "Ryan showed me that." Every time she did, I marked the moment in my mind. She was giving me her map, one breadcrumb at a time. I kept my poker face. At home I was calm, even affectionate. I cooked dinner, asked about her day, listened like I used to. That's the trick. When someone's hiding something, kindness feels like interrogation. You don't need to accuse. Silence does the job for you. One Saturday, we ran into Ryan and Lisa at a downtown art event. She lit up like a kid on Christmas. I watched from a few steps behind as Ryan accidentally brushed her hand while handing her a drink. She didn't pull away. She froze, smiled nervously, then looked around to see if anyone noticed. She had no idea I was standing right there. That night, she couldn't sleep. Tossed and turned beside me, pretending to scroll through her phone. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. The guilt was already starting to crack her armor, but I needed her to believe she was still in control. Quite line up. Ryan was doing his part perfectly. He kept the balance between attention and distance. Never too eager, never too cold. Just enough to make her chase the moment. Their messages had turned from friendly to something more careful. Late-night replies. A few deleted texts. I didn't need to see the words. The silence between them told me enough. At home, I pretended nothing was wrong. I'd pour her a glass of wine, ask about her day, and listen as she lied with the confidence of a politician. It was just work, she'd say, or Lisa needed help with something. Every excuse, rehearsed, clean, almost elegant. It was impressive, and that's what made it infuriating. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. The slip. It was small, but it hit like a gunshot. She mentioned a restaurant she'd never been to, but I'd seen her tagged there in a story that Lisa posted earlier that day. I didn't say a word. Instead, I looked at her, smiled, and said, "Sounds nice. Maybe we should go there sometime." She froze for half a second, then laughed too loudly. That was the moment I knew she realized. I was watching. From that night on, the tension thickened. She started overcompensating. Extra kisses, sudden compliments, random texts during the day just to check in. Guilt makes people act generous. It's not love, it's survival. Ryan and I stayed in constant contact. He told me she'd started asking questions about him, personal ones. What he did for work, if he was happy with Lisa, what kind of person he really was. Classic testing behavior. She was getting emotionally invested, and that was exactly what I needed. One evening, Ryan set the stage for the next move. During another group hangout, he accidentally left his phone on the table. A message from me popped up, but under a different name, a coded chat app we'd set up for coordination. She noticed. I saw her eyes flick to the screen, then to Ryan, then away again. Her brain was spinning, connecting dots before he even spoke. "She's ready," he said. "She thinks I know something about Lisa, something secret." This was the moment I'd been preparing for. The first real confrontation. But not between her and me. Between her mask and her guilt. Ryan's role was simple. Lead her just close enough to the truth for her to trip over it herself. That evening, Lisa invited her over for a quick drink. What my wife didn't know was that Ryan would be there too. Waiting, pretending to be distracted, scrolling through his phone. I stayed home, watching from a distance, listening to the live feed Ryan had secretly set up. Legal, harmless, but powerful enough to catch every whisper. When she walked in, her voice was light, fake happy. "Oh, Ryan, didn't expect you here." He laughed softly. "Lisa just stepped out for a moment. She said you two had things to talk about." There was a pause, long, nervous, human. Then she asked the question we'd both been waiting for. "So, what exactly do you know?" Ryan played it perfectly. He didn't accuse, he just smiled and said, "Enough to understand why Lisa's been worried lately. She said there's something you've been hiding." That line cracked her open. I could hear it. The shuffle of her feet. The sudden change in her breathing. "Lisa said that?" she asked, her voice shaking just slightly. "She didn't have to," Ryan replied. "You just did." Silence. Then, almost in a whisper, she began talking. Not a confession, not yet. Just fragments, half-truths. Words like mistake, confusion, something that shouldn't have happened. It was like listening to someone trying to rewrite history mid-sentence. She said, It wasn't serious. It just happened. And I didn't want to hurt anyone. Ryan leaned in a little, his tone calm, patient. Then why are you still hiding it? I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and disgust wash over me. I wanted to storm in, to end it, to throw the true private confession wouldn't be private anymore. It would become the weapon that ended her game for good. After that night, something changed in her. The tension that had been hidden under fake smiles started leaking through the cracks. She became quieter, distracted, lost in her own head. When I spoke to her, she'd blink like she hadn't heard me the first time. It was guilt, raw, living guilt, and it was starting to eat her from the inside out. She started overcompensating, cooking my favorite meals, cleaning more, leaving small notes on the fridge like we were in a honeymoon phase again. I could tell it wasn't love. It was panic. She was trying to rebuild the image she thought I believed in. Every forced gesture made her lies shine brighter. Ryan kept me updated after every encounter. They saw each other a few more times, always in public, always casual. She'd laugh, but it wasn't real anymore. Her laugh had that tremor of someone who knows she's too close to the edge. Ryan said she'd started talking about feeling trapped, like something was pressing down on her. She even told him she'd made a mistake that can't be undone. One afternoon, I came home early. She didn't hear me come in. I stood in the hallway, listening as she spoke on the phone, her voice low, anxious. "You don't understand," she whispered. "If he finds out, it's over. Everything's over." My heart didn't race. It didn't even hurt. I just stood there, memorizing every word. When she noticed me, she jumped. "Oh, hey, I didn't hear you," she stammered. "Who were you talking to?" "Just Lisa," she said too quickly. Of course, always Lisa. I smiled, kissed her forehead, and walked away. The more calm I stayed, the more terrified she became. She couldn't tell if I knew, and that was the point. Fear of discovery is a more powerful punishment than discovery itself. Later that week, I watched her from the kitchen window as she sat in the backyard, scrolling through her phone. Her face changed with every message. As expected, I could hear her voice trembling through the recording. "He can't know, Ryan. I didn't mean for it to happen. Please, just don't say anything." She'd just said the words I'd been waiting for. I didn't mean for it to happen. That was her confession. No details yet, but enough to confirm everything I'd suspected. That night, as she slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling, realizing something dark and honest. I wasn't doing this for closure anymore. I was doing it to see how far she'd fall before she realized I was the one who pushed her. By the time a month had passed, her world was starting to fracture. Every lie she'd told me was now colliding with the ones she'd told everyone else. You could see it in how she spoke, the pauses, the hesitation before answering simple questions. It was like watching a juggler drop one ball after another, pretending everything was fine. Her phone became her lifeline. Always near, always face down. The same pattern every night. Message, delete, deep breath, pretend nothing happened. But I'd already learned to read her silence better than her words. Ryan told me she'd begun to spiral. "She's anxious all the time," he said. "Keeps asking if you've said anything about her lately. She's afraid, man, like really afraid." That was good. Fear was progress. Fear meant the mask was slipping. One evening, Lisa organized a small get-together at her apartment. I agreed to come this time, to sit across from both of them and watch the performance unfold. It was like being front row at a play I'd written. My wife acted composed, smiling too often, avoiding my eyes every time Ryan spoke. She laughed when no one said anything funny, and when Ryan complimented Lisa, I caught the smallest flicker of jealousy cross her face. That look told me everything. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She was afraid of losing him. After the dinner, she grew quiet. The kind of quiet that vibrates with tension. When we got home, she poured herself a drink and sat at the edge of the couch, staring at. "Tell me anything," he said. And she did. Through the hidden mic, I heard her voice tremble. "It wasn't supposed to go this far," she said. "I thought it was just a game. I never thought I'd hurt anyone." Ryan kept his tone soft. "Who are you afraid of hurting?" She didn't answer right away. Then, in a whisper so low it barely registered, "My husband." It wasn't a full confession, but it was close enough. The cracks were spreading fast now. Her guilt, her fear, her confusion. She was losing control, and I wasn't going to stop her. That night, she came home and hugged me out of nowhere. It wasn't love, it was desperation. The kind people show when they're trying to convince themselves everything's fine. I let her hold on, still, silent, because in that silence she felt her own heartbeat, the sound of her secret collapsing. She thought the worst was over, but I was only getting started. It started small, a look here, a whisper there. People around us began noticing things that neither of us wanted them to. That's how secrets die, not in explosions, but in slow leaks. Lisa was the first to act strange. She stopped texting my wife as often, started keeping her distance. Ryan told me that Lisa had begun to suspect something, though she couldn't piece it together. She asked if something was going on, he said. I told her I didn't know. Let her imagination do the rest. That's when the real unraveling began. My wife's social world, her comfort zone, started collapsing. Friends who once filled her weekends stopped calling. Plans suddenly got postponed. You could see it eating at her. She'd scroll through social media, frowning, trying to understand why people weren't reacting to her posts the same way anymore. What she didn't realize was that I was helping the process along, subtly, quietly. I never exposed her directly. I just redirected small bits of information, the kind that sound innocent but burn credibility fast. A comment here, a mistaken screenshot there, just enough for people to wonder. And the thing about suspicion is, once it starts, it doesn't stop. Probably just hurt. That message hit me harder than I expected. Hurt. The word lingered. I wasn't sure anymore if that was true, or if I'd gone beyond hurt into something darker. But I pushed the thought away. I'd come too far to stop now. The next day, I saw her sitting on the porch, knees pulled to her chest, phone in her hand. She was crying quietly. Not the dramatic kind of crying, just small, silent tears that leave tracks no one's supposed to see. I didn't interrupt. I wanted her to feel what I had felt for months, the weight of betrayal and isolation. Later, she came to me, voice trembling. "Are you angry with me?" she asked. I looked at her for a long moment and said softly, "Why would I be?" Her eyes darted away, her lips parted like she wanted to say something. Then she just whispered, "I don't know anymore." The truth was starting to suffocate her. The more she tried to fix things, the worse they got. Every attempt to control the story made her look guiltier to everyone around her. And still, I stayed calm, because this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about exposure. Watching her finally face the reflection she'd been hiding from. By the end of that week, Ryan sent me one last message. She's ready to break. One push and she'll tell you everything herself. That was all I needed. The stage was set, and soon she'd confess. Not because I demanded it, but because she couldn't carry the weight of her own lies any longer. The silence between us had grown thick enough to choke on. She moved through the house like a ghost, careful, quiet, afraid of being seen. Every sound made her flinch. The woman who once filled rooms with noise and laughter now spoke in whispers, as if any word might betray her. It wasn't just fear anymore, it was exhaustion. You can hide a secret for a long time, but it drains you. Slowly, relentlessly, until there's nothing left to protect. Ryan told me she'd stopped meeting him altogether. She's paranoid, he said, thinks someone's watching. She even asked if I was recording her. He was, of course, but that wasn't the point. The point was, she was breaking, on her own. Next day, Lisa called me. Her voice was tense. She's been acting strange, she said. Told me she feels like her whole life's about to explode. What's going on? I pretended not to know. Maybe she's just stressed. Lisa hesitated. She said you've changed too, that you're colder. She's scared of you. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was true. I had changed. That night, she came to me again, fragile, desperate, trembling. I don't know what's happening, she said. I feel like everything's slipping away. People, friends, even you. Her voice cracked. Please just tell me what you know. It took every ounce of control not to give it away. Instead, I reached out, gently brushed her hair behind her ear, and said, If there's something you need to tell me, you should. Her breath hitched. Her eyes darted away. I can't, she said finally. It would ruin everything. She didn't realize that everything was already ruined. The following morning, Ryan sent the message that confirmed it all. She's ready. She told Lisa she can't live with the guilt anymore. She's planning to talk to you. Perfect. I knew what that meant. The confession was coming, and it would happen on my terms, not hers. That evening, I prepared everything. A quiet dinner, a calm atmosphere, soft music, the illusion of normalcy. She walked in looking like someone walking to her own trial. She sat down, eyes red, hands shaking. There's something you should know, she said. I nodded slowly, pretending not to expect it. And then she began to speak. Her voice cracked with every word. It wasn't about names or details. It was about guilt, fear, and the moment she realized how far she'd fallen. She didn't confess everything, not yet, but she said enough for me to see the truth written across her face. When she was done, she whispered, weren't what they seemed, of feelings she couldn't explain, of mistakes that started small and grew out of control. She never said Ryan's name, but she didn't have to. Every detail matched. When she paused, I didn't speak. I let the silence drag on, heavy and merciless. Then she looked up at me, tears glistening in her eyes. Please, say something. I finally did. You already have. Her confusion turned to dread. What do you mean? I reached into the drawer beside me and took out my phone, pressed play. Her voice filled the room, her own confession, trembling, fragmented, undeniable. The one she'd given Ryan, thinking it was safe. She froze, the color drained from her face. You were listening? I nodded slowly, the whole time. For a moment, she just stared at me. Then her voice cracked into something between disbelief and despair. Why would you do that? Because that's the only way you ever tell the truth, I said. Tears spilled down her cheeks, silent and shaking. She tried to explain, to rebuild the story, but every word sounded emptier than the last. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I'd already won, and yelling would have made it smaller somehow. Finally, she whispered, So what now? You've got what you wanted. I looked her dead in the eyes. No, I got what you created. She tried to reach for me, but I stepped back. The distance between us was no longer physical. It was everything. Years of trust erased in one night. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The only sound was her quiet sobbing and the faint hum of the refrigerator. I realized then that the part of me that loved her wasn't angry anymore. It was just done. When I finally spoke again, my voice was calm. You should leave tomorrow. Take what you need. Her lips trembled. And us? Long time. I wasn't angry. I wasn't broken. I was free. Revenge wasn't about destroying her. It was about reclaiming myself. I'd spent months being careful, calculating, turning my pain into strategy. And now, standing there in the quiet, I finally understood what that meant. I didn't win because I caught her. I won because I refused to let her turn me into the victim she needed me to be. In the weeks that followed, I rebuilt my life one honest day at a time. I deleted every recording, every message, not to forget, but to move forward. The truth had already done its job. I started running again, cooking for myself, even laughing, though it took time for it to sound real. Sometimes people think revenge means burning everything down. But for me, it meant walking away while the ashes settled, and never looking back. Lisa reached out once. She told me my ex-wife was trying to find herself, whatever that meant. I wished her well, not because I forgave her, but because I no longer needed to hate her. Hate keeps you chained to what hurt you. I'd had enough of chains. Now, when I look back, I don't see betrayal anymore. I see a lesson, a hard one, but necessary. I learned that sometimes the most satisfying revenge isn't exposing someone else. It's rebuilding yourself so completely that their absence feels like peace. I still live in the same house, but it doesn't feel haunted anymore. It feels like mine. And as strange as it sounds, I'm grateful, because without her lies, I'd never have learned how much truth I was capable of. So, tell me, did I do the right thing? Would you have done the same in my place? If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss more real, gripping stories like this one. Leave a like, drop a comment, and tell me what you would have done. Your thoughts might just inspire the next story.